Right now,
Today we'll tackle tough times in California.
The economic troubles facing San Diego will be the focus of Mayor Jerry Sanders' annual State of the City
reports a 60% hike in rapes where either one or both people
will be a long process. UCLA researchers track the progress of 50 sarcoma patients using it.
From the KPBS studios, this is San Diego Week.
Hello, I'm Joanne Ferry, and thanks for joining us. The debt ceiling debate is over, and federal spending cuts are on the way. We'll take a look at what that means for San Diego, where federal spending accounts for 20% of the economy. Also, Sheriff Bill Gore takes us on a tour of a county jail and tells us how his department is getting ready to handle 2,000 inmates that will soon be transferred from state prisons. And medical students from UC San Diego joined forces with their counterparts south of the border to open a free healthcare clinic in Tijuana. Those stories and more coming up, but first, a look at the week's headlines. Amitha Sharma joins me from the KPBS News Center. Amitha?
Joanne, no charges will be filed against a former San Diego police officer who was accused of raping a woman in El Cajon. Officer Art Perea resigned after being placed on unpaid leave. A 19-year-old student from Point Loma Nazarene University accused Perea of assaulting her in February, but prosecutors say they don't believe they can prove the case beyond a reasonable doubt. Two men are being held on $2 million bail each in connection with the wildfire that burned 22 square miles near Warner Springs. The Eagle Fire burned for 10 days. 18 firefighters were injured while fighting the blaze. The two suspects are both 23 years old. Jeremy Ortiz and Jesse Durbin were arrested earlier this week. They've entered not guilty pleas. No homes were damaged in the fire, but it cost $15 million to put out. A former Morris High School football star has entered a guilty plea in the University of San Diego basketball bribery case. David Gates admitted that he collected debts for what he described as an illegal sports gambling operation. 10 people are accused of fixing college games and dealing drugs. The defendants include 2 former USD players and a former assistant coach. A judge has upheld a ruling to combine 2 San Diego lawsuits over a controversial clemency decision by former Governor Arnold Schwarzenegger. They seek to reinstate the full manslaughter sentence of Esteban Nunez in the 2008 death of a San Diego college student. Nunez is the son of a former state assembly speaker, and Schwarzenegger cut his sentence nearly in half before leaving office. San Diego County's district attorney is suing along with the family of Luis Santos, the man who was killed. They claim the governor violated state law by not notifying the Santos family before commuting the sentence. After 13 years of work, San Diego County has an updated general plan. The Board of Supervisors has approved a map to guide future development in the county's unincorporated areas. It downzones 20% of all properties in that area, restricting how many buildings can go on that land. Opponents of the plan say that will reduce property values. Supporters say it will reduce costs and urban sprawl. A plan to ban cars from Balboa Park's Plaza de Panama has led to a lawsuit. Last week, the City Council approved a memorandum of understanding to allow fundraising for the project, which includes a bypass bridge to take traffic off the Laurel Street Bridge and a partial underground parking structure behind the Oregon Pavilion. The Save Our Heritage organization says approving the memorandum violates state environmental laws and is suing to get that approval rescinded. City Attorney Jan Goldsmith says the suit has no merit. The approach to Lindbergh Field can be frightening for white-knuckle flyers, but a national travel magazine ranks San Diego's airport as the 7th safest in the U.S. Travel and Leisure magazine gave Lindbergh Field high marks for having just 4 non-life-threatening runway incidents in a 4-year period. The airport was also praised for its runway status lights system, which tells pilots and drivers whether a runway is in use. Only 3 other U.S. airports use that system. Joanne?
Thanks, Amitha. Well, the debate may be over, but the fallout is just beginning. The debt ceiling deal that was reached earlier this week calls for huge cuts in federal spending. And here in San Diego County, the impact of those cuts will be especially deep. Now, that's coming up. But first, let's take a look at what happened to some local companies in the stock market this week, as Thursday marked the weakest day in trading in the past 2 years. 3 of our big companies, Qualcomm, Sempra Energy, and CareFusion, trended downward throughout most of the week, with some slight recovery at the end of today's trading day. Economists say today's job numbers, up slightly, helped to stabilize the downward trend this week. Well, more than 20% of San Diego's entire economy is fueled by the federal government. With us now to talk about how trillions of dollars in cuts will ripple down to us is Kelly Cunningham, economist for the National University System Institute for Policy Research. Thanks, Kelly, for being here.
Sure.
Now, you were here last week to talk about worst case scenario if a debt ceiling deal was not reached, but it feels like we've got that worst case scenario. Instead, we're getting huge cuts in federal spending. Why is that going to affect San Diego County more than other municipalities across the country?
Well, the agreement that's been reached, it didn't seem to really take effect immediately as far as the cuts. I mean, it spread out over 10 years, and then immediately, and then there's also more to be resolved in the next, apparently by November. So it didn't really bring us a lot of clarity on what's going to be cut or what's going to happen, but it's still, for a place like San Diego, it's huge because so much of our economy is dependent upon the federal government spending, and so
it's about 20%, right? So
right,
we have a $36 billion economy, 20%. Where's the federal government spending that money in San Diego?
Well, a big chunk of it is federal government, and that's probably 45% of it. But there are a lot of other things, of course, Social Security, Medicare, and other things. Homeland defense is actually a big part of our economy because of the border and the ocean, the Coast Guard as well. So there's a lot of money spent there. And
also, don't we have a lot of money being invested in these tech companies?
Right. That's the other big part of it. Actually, we find that there's about $1.3 billion alone in things like the NIH and the other federal grants that are different things that are being spent here for research and development, which fuels our not only our universities and research institutions, but then there's a huge spinoff because a lot of businesses have grown out of that, a lot of our high-tech industry. So that's a big fuel of what our economy is.
So we know from history what could potentially happen, because something like this did happen. It was in the 90s, right, in San Diego
Right.
County. So what happened then?
Well, the government had a downsizing of defense spending at that time, and it hit us in 2 ways because there were some base closures, but there was also the defense contracting, which was our aerospace industry, which had been our leading industry. It was our major industry for historically, and there was a big downsizing of that, which had a huge ripple effect into the rest of the economy.
So our county was in recession longer than the rest of the country.
Right, yeah, and that was true for San Diego and all of Southern California, that it took us longer to get out of that recession than it did the rest of the country and even the rest of California.
Now, Kelly, you also are on an advisory committee to the San Diego Association of Governments. What advice do you give policymakers now looking at this to say, what do we do so that doesn't happen again?
Well, the idea behind that is there are certain clusters, certain industries that are economic drivers. These are industries where if we invest and see those grow, then there's a natural ripple effect that will affect all the other industries. And so we're wanting to target or look at these industries that help the economy, drive the economy, and so we want to show that by supporting those, that will help the overall economy to grow and prosper.
Kelly Cunningham, thanks for being here.
Sure.
Still with the economy, San Diego County will soon have one more bill to pay, the cost of 2,000 new inmates to its county jails. A new California law is redirecting thousands of inmates from state prisons to local jails. Earlier this week, I took a tour of the George Bailey Detention Center in Otay Mesa with Sheriff Bill Gore and spoke to him about the impact of the new inmate population.
Well, this is what we call our main housing facility. It has the capacity to hold about 1,800 inmates. We have about 1,500 here. We have all types of classification, from minimum security to our maximum security people. So
this South Bay County jail doesn't look a lot different from a state prison. The cell blocks are alike, the metal cots and stainless steel toilets are pretty standard. But take a closer look and you see the obvious. Empty cells. In fact, so many empty cells, this entire block can be closed to inmates while repairs are made. Just across the road is Donovan State Prison. So packed, the gymnasium sleeps inmates in triple bunks. This crowding is what's driving the decision to send thousands of convicted felons who used to be sentenced to state prisons to local jails.
But make no mistake, this is not a good story. Sacramento has failed the taxpayers and voters again. But this time, they're playing with the safety of San Diego residents.
Unlike current offenders, once they serve their full sentence, they will be released with no supervision.
San Diego's public safety officials made this presentation to the Board of Supervisors earlier this week about the impact of 2,000 new inmates to San Diego's jails.
First-time drunk drivers, drug users, and petty thieves may be released back into our community early.
Called non-non-nons for short, they are non-violent, non-serious, non-sexual offenders.
And those non-non-nons include identity theft of huge proportions, vehicular manslaughter, drug dealers, commercial burglars, and the list goes on and on.
We estimate that 85% of this population will need substance abuse services and 20% will need specialty mental health care. From our past experience through initiatives to steer offenders into treatment, typically half of the eligible population will show up for services. Therefore, it will cost the Health and Human Services Agency approximately $8 million to provide behavioral health treatment to 50% of this population.
The bottom line, the inmates are going to cost San Diego about $100 million a year. The state so far has committed to paying part of that amount, about $65 million. Finding $35 million to process and house all the inmates expected to come into county jails will only solve part of the problem.
The concern is the long-term inmates and providing programs so they're not just warehoused and sit here for 18 months to 4 years in a bunk with nothing to do.
Sheriff Gore is worried about whether he'll be able to provide rehabilitation programs to inmates or whether county jail will become another revolving door in the criminal justice system.
To avoid doing that, we're going to need the money to do some effective programming inside our facility and then have services available that these people can transition to in the community so they're not just kicked out the door and given a bus ticket back to the old neighborhood.
Right now, county inmates serve an average of 75 days. The new inmates will stay, on average, 18 months, some of them even 8 years.
Everybody in public safety, the whole community has a vested interest in making these people successful so that when they re-enter our neighborhoods, they're not going to have to burglarize your house or steal my car or whatever to make a living. Hopefully they'll have some skills and be able to support themselves.
So far, county officials have only had time to crunch the numbers. Now they're working on trying to figure out what they'll do once inmates begin serving their sentences here in San Diego October 1st. Sheriff Gore, a self-proclaimed optimist, says for now, he's looking at the challenge as an opportunity. One he just has to figure out how to pay for.
Well, to me, it seems like it's a moral responsibility. First of all, these people are in my care and custody. And from a fiscal standpoint, if I can make them successful when they get out of here so they're not right back in here again in 18 months, to me, that's just morally the right thing and fiscally the right thing to do. So to me, it's a no-brainer.
California's Legislative Analyst's Office, a nonpartisan advisor, today released a report saying transferring state inmates to counties will help ease overcrowding, but it's not enough to reduce the entire population by more than 30,000, as ordered by the courts. Earlier, we told you about the decision by the San Diego County Board of Supervisors approving a new general plan for the county. The plan lays out the rules regarding land use in the unincorporated areas of the county. KPBS reporter Tom Fudge has been covering the general plan update since work on it began 13 years ago. Tom, 13 years. Tell us why something like this takes so long.
Well, because when you're telling people in San Diego's unincorporated areas, thousands of property owners, what they can and cannot do with their land, it is complex and it's controversial. I'll also add that even though it took 13 years to come up with this plan, the land use plan for San Diego County has not been updated for 33 years. So this is quite a remarkable event.
Now, this plan, basically, as you say, it tells people what they can do with their land. People sort of who live in the backcountry, I think a lot of us call it the backcountry. Who does it affect? How many people are actually living in these areas?
Well, I can't give you a population figure because I'm afraid I don't know, but it does involve a lot of unincorporated land. Well, it involves all of the unincorporated land of San Diego County. That includes farms, it includes rural areas, it includes towns like Julian and Ramona.
Now, we want to show our audience a map just to get a sense of how large an area this is. Now, the gray area, those are all cities within the county, but that whole white area, that's unincorporated, so not a lot of people, but as we can see, a huge land mass. What does the new plan say? What can people now do with their land that's in this area?
Well, it depends, Joanne, where you live. If you live in a place like Ramona, that is an area that has been upzoned. That means that development is encouraged in a place like that because it's a town center. Now, if you live in rural areas, it may be a different story. Most of the land in the unincorporated parts of San Diego County have not been affected. They've stayed the same. But about 20% of the properties in the area, the county's jurisdiction, have been downzone. That means that the county has said to the people who own that property, well, maybe there was a time when you could develop this property and put 40 houses on it. Now the rules have changed and you can only put about 4 houses on it. And that is very controversial because the highest and best use you can have of any land, the thing you can make the most money on, is development. And when you're telling people that they can't develop their land, you're telling them that the potential value of their land is not as great as it once was.
Quickly, Tom, fire obviously must have come up in this plan as well. There's always concern about fire in the backcountry. Does this plan address that?
Yes, we've been talking about the controversy of the plan, but this is a plan that is very popular with a lot of people who say that it will prevent urban sprawl, that it will prevent the county from having to build 780 miles of new roads, and it will also make it much easier to provide fire protection because you're not having to provide fire protection in every inch of the county. You're only focusing on those town centers where development is allowed.
Great. Tom Fudge, thanks so much.
Thank you.
Well, still with fire, people living in the backcountry are going to have a new fee to pay. The state wants to collect $150 for every home in wildland areas protected by CAL FIRE. The state agency responded to 300 fires in the backcountry last year. And now joining me is Ron Paterka. He's a board member with the Intermountain Fire Rescue Department. Now, Ron, you've been with this volunteer firefighting agency for years. Tell me the relationship between your volunteer firefighting group and CAL FIRE.
Well, the big difference between the two departments, ours is a volunteer fire department, theirs is a paid department. The CAL FIRE is primarily to fight large fires, wildland fires. That's their primary training and their primary point of being. Our volunteer fire department takes care of road accidents in our area, 125 square miles as a matter of fact. It takes care of medical emergencies. It takes care of small fires. We're the first fire department to on scene of the witch fire that happened going on 5 years now.
So does a fee like this help you do your job, or does it hurt you?
I'm afraid it's going to kill us. Our fire response area, like I said, 125 square miles. There's only about 400 or so residences in that area, so it's sparse. I'm one of them, but we're sparsely, and it's a low-income area by definition of the average wages and incomes there. So we depend, as a volunteer, we depend on donations and for help and grants, and we get some money from the county, but it's a small amount of our budget.
So this fee is going to take that donation away from you?
Right. Our 400 or so residences generate. We try to get we have a subscriber program, subscriber donations. We get $100 per family on average, but we don't get the whole 400 because it's obviously Up to them whether they pay or not. But how do we get any money from them if they're already paying $150 to the state for fire protection, when in fact what they're going to get for their $150, I'm afraid, is a pamphlet that tells them what they already know about clearing their property or protecting their property out in the wild country.
Now, Ron, we know that 2 county supervisors are going to take the state to task. They're actually suing Diane Jacob and Pam Slater Price. Do you support the lawsuit?
Absolutely. It's if they don't change this, the change that would help would be if they poured that money into the volunteer fire departments, into the departments that are protecting the backcountry now. It would be a big help. I mean, it would be enough to put us in a budget that would allow us to provide 24/7 protection.
Ron Paterka, thanks for being here.
Thank you. I enjoyed it.
There's a new clinic in Tijuana that offers free care to anyone who walks in the door. Medical students from both sides of the border staff it. KPBS health reporter Kenny Goldberg tells us a med student at UCSD came up with the idea.
The clinic sits on a busy street just blocks away from the U.S.-Mexico border. Inside the building, fourth-year UCSD medical student Amy Epstein greets her counterparts from UABC, the medical school in Tijuana. This clinic is Epstein's baby.
I've always been very interested in global health and underserved medicine, and that's a large reason why I decided to go into medicine. And so my first year of medical school, I came down to Tijuana with a group from a different medical school, and that gave me the idea to start something at UCSD that would allow UCSD medical students to also get more involved with health in the border region.
Every Saturday, students from UCSD and UABC work at the clinic. Doctors from both schools supervise them. It's all part of a class called Health Frontiers in Tijuana. Mexican health officials say the clinic offers a great learning experience for students on both sides of the border.
But above all, the most valuable thing about the program is that we're providing services to a group of people that need it the most.
The clinic is located on the periphery of Tijuana's red light district called La Zona Norte. In this neighborhood, there are a lot of drug addicts, sex workers, homeless people, and even people that live in the irrigation canal. But people who live in other parts of town come to the clinic too.
I was passing by and I saw that the clinic offered free care. The main health clinic in town is closed, so I came here once and this is my second visit.
Gonzalez tells the students she's been suffering from terrible headaches for about a month and a half. She hasn't been able to get any relief. After Gonzalez's exam, Epstein consults with one of the supervising doctors on how best to treat her.
Hopefully, these programs will sensibilize students or physicians to work with this population, to work with their counterparts in Mexico, and to address and communicate better between clinicians, and to better address health issues of these border populations.
Amy Epstein says after years of planning, it's rewarding to see the clinic up and running.
I'm so excited to see the students from UABC and from UCSD working together, see that 90 to 100 patients have been seen in about 1 or 2 months, and I'm very excited to see where it will go in the future as well.
That report by KPBS health reporter Kenny Goldberg. The Tijuana Clinic hopes to add mental health services and a nutrition program soon. Now, a follow-up to some of the stories we've been following here at KPBS. First, a 380-ton piece of low-level radioactive material has left the San Onofre nuclear power plant. The huge steam generator started its trip through the North County Sunday night, causing a big traffic jam on Interstate 5 despite the late hour. It finally left San Diego County late Thursday on its way to a disposal site in Utah. After this one, Southern California Edison has 3 more generators to move the And the music will play on at the Spreckles Organ Pavilion in Balboa Park. San Diego City Council approved a new 10-year contract for organist Carol Williams, who's been performing Sunday concerts since 2001. Her contract was up for debate earlier this year during budget deliberations. Under the new deal, she's going to be paid about $28,000 a year for concerts that draw in about 100,000 people every year. And you can see any of the stories you saw tonight by going to our website at kpbs.org/SDweek. Well, thanks for watching. Have a great weekend. And here's a look at your forecast. Have a great night.